Hello, everyone, and welcome to the huddle. We are so excited to be on tonight. We have two very special guests that are going to be joining us tonight and sharing a husband and wife's perspective on doing this business together. I brought my Mr. Monate with me because he has been so supportive of me my entire Monate business, and I truly would not have done all the things that I've been able to do if it wasn't for this guy right here supporting me in the way that he has. He's just been incredible. So when I heard Kim interviewing her husband, RJ, right after my nations, I got so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, they sound so good. And hearing RJ's perspective on my nations and supporting his wife, it just fired me up. And I was like, our whole team needs to hear this, just in case they didn't see them on their IG. And so I immediately texted Kim. I was like, Kim, can you guys do this? Like, please, this would be so good. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim and RJ. And we are just so excited to hear from both of you tonight and to learn from you. And thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. We just want to thank you so much for having us. Of course, when you texted me, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to do a call. And I called RJ. I'm like, well, this is what happens when we go on live.
My first one ever.
Yeah. He's like, because I said I was going to do more lives. So he's like, let's just do it. And I'm like, unprepared. He's like, yep. And I was like, okay. So it was good. It was fun. Got to push ourselves out of that comfort zone, right? So this is my husband, RJ. I'm Kim, and we are a pretty big family. We have 5 kids, and they kind of range from all over. So we are a crazy, chaotic family. We have a 22-year-old, 17-year-old, then I have a 6-year-old, and then I have twin 3-year-olds. So we have one in every stage of life, and talk about chaos and me not really having time, but I find time to do this business in the nooks and crannies, and I absolutely love it.
So wait, let me just paint, she kind of tiptoed on that whole subject. So let me just paint the current picture right now. I just got home from work. I've been gone since 5 o'clock in the morning. I do 3 jobs. We had to hire a babysitter just to have this call. So like that is, and this is what we kind of talked about on the Instagram is, that for those that say they don't have time, you just don't want it enough. And we try to kind of walk the walk. And when we got asked to do this, we knew right away that it would be, if you've been on conference calls with Kim before, you've seen our kids, it would absolutely be hard to give you the focus that you guys deserve to do it. But we wanted to be here and we wanted to do it. And so, sometimes you just have to, make sacrifices and pay a babysitter,
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to kind of go and give you guys a little bit of a backstory about us, kind of just give more of a husband's perspective, because this business, can be a very tough business, and to have support means a lot. Like, I know it means a lot to me. So, and of course, he wasn't always in the beginning supportive. So we kind of just want to kind of give you guys a little backstory about us, and then just kind of give you guys some perspective of stuff that we took off of Monations and just kind of where we're at in our Monate business right now. So a little bit of backstory, since you guys, not all of you know me. I joined Monate about 2 years ago. And Jacqueline just came to me and has, poured her love into me. And I had a cleaning business for 13 years back in Tucson, Arizona. And it was crazy. And during COVID, I had to close it. So I still wanted something. I felt like I still needed something to do, even though I had my hands full. I had a 6-month-old twins, but I craved to still have stuff to do that's not just being a mom. So I wanted something extra. I still wanted some extra money to help to pay for some debt that we had accumulated living in California. And I also wanted community. So moving back to Arizona, I was super lonely. I had twins. They were young, and all different levels, and COVID. And so I wasn't able to really meet anybody, and I live for community. So I thought, well, this, Jacqueline's kind of like shows a lot of it. And I was like, well, maybe. So I just decided after a year of being a VIP that I loved the skincare. You guys, I hadn't even tried the hair care. Never. I was obsessed with the skincare. And so I jumped in. And now my why is so much bigger, but that is kind of like how I started and why I kind of just said, well, I'll try it. And so what were your first impressions when I decided? I kind of just was like, hey, I'm doing this.
Yeah, there was no conversation. I think that I still have PTSD from my past, where most people probably have all been approached at a gas station, asked if they wanted to be an individual business owner, which the obvious answer is, well, yeah, I do want to be an individual business owner, but you don't know what that means until you get on the presentations with Amway and anything else. And so I was very skeptical, but she seemed very passionate about it. And just in the course of our marriage, I know that she wanted more to be fulfilled. But I had my doubts, and if it was anybody else, like, I give Jacqueline a lot of credit. I had only met her a few times, but she was very genuine. I didn't feel like she was steering us down a path that wasn't something that we needed in our life. And so that just talks about the trust, the trust that you build with people you connect with, the people that you're maybe your current VIPs. I had a lot of faith in the fact that Jacqueline was showing us something that we really needed to see. But I still had one stipulation. I didn't want to be a part of anything that I had to spend a monthly amount. I was like, look, I'm not buying inventory. I'm not spending $500 or $300 a month, because in certain places, the only way to be successful is if you spend X amount of dollars of your own money every single month. And so I was okay, like, let's do it. Or you do it. I didn't want anything to do with it because I'm not a big, I'm kind of introverted. And so the whole network marketing thing is super intimidating for me, at least initially. And so I was very reserved and had a lot of doubts because I've had friends that do it, and I just didn't know how we were going to be successful doing it. And so that's kind of where I started, which I think is probably similar for a lot of people, especially husbands. It's all about financial impact, like how much money am I spending and how much money are you making? And from my experience, it's more of one, and you're not making a whole lot of money. So I needed her to prove some stuff before I really got on board, I guess, is what I was thinking. That's not a rational thought, but that's what was going through my head.
And the competitive nature in me, when he's like, well, I'm not sure, is like, well, let me show you, let me prove to you how I'm going to do this. And, kind of like that proving like I can do this. Right. So for us, it was more like I started doing the business, and he kind of was like watching from the outside. And I at first was very unsure. So I'm a person that jumps in, but I jump in from my heart. So I was like, to be honest, I never looked at the compensation plan. I did not know what I was doing. I just was sharing what I knew and what I loved. And so he would ask me questions, and I'm like, I don't know.
The number one question everybody asks was, how do you get paid? How do you make the money?
I'm just sharing what I love. And so he was always asking me, well, do you know what you're making? I'm like, nope. I just see my paychecks on Friday or on the 15th of the month, and I'm excited. So for me, money is not my driving force. So that's kind of where it started to take a turn a little bit, because he was seeing me get a little bit more active, and like I felt like I was starting to have a lot more confidence in myself.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you hear it in Monations, you hear in some of the conference calls, is you don't ever know what somebody's actual situation is until you talk to them. And what Jacqueline may or may not have known, and what you wouldn't necessarily see on the surface, is that Kim talked about debt, but she said debt. It was massive amounts of debt. That was putting a big financial burden on our family that we are still currently working every day to pay off. But I had a steady job. We have a house. Like, from the outside looking in, it may not look like we needed help, but man, it was the perfect timing. And that's the whole point, is that you just don't ever really know what somebody's going through. 3 months before Jacqueline talked to Kim about Monat, I just started a bookkeeping company. I went to school 15 years ago for accounting and haven't done a single thing with it. But all of a sudden, I felt like I needed to do bookkeeping because I needed extra money. And so that was the start of our whole journey. And I think that's what continued to transition me as I've learned more about this company and more about Kim's journey, is that we were grinding and we're still grinding every single day. But that's, I also think, is what is making Kim successful and allowing me to support her more, because now we're both grinding together. It's a shared journey. I'm supporting her, she's supporting me in all the things that I'm doing, because we're still fighting. Our fight's not over. And I don't know if it's what the end goal really is going to be, whether it's the things, it's hopefully a combination of all of it. But we're still fighting, and we're fighting to get out of the financial situation that we're in, which I think there's a lot of people currently in this market, in this economy right now, there's a lot of people sitting in the same shoes that we're sitting in right now that you just might not know. I mean, I've gone from being all about Dave Ramsey to the exact opposite side. You know, when I was first trying to get out of debt, I was trying to get out of debt. But the one thing that I still agree with Dave Ramsey on, and is what we're kind of living today, is if you are in debt, you need to fight at a gazelle-like speed, is what he always says. As a gazelle-like speed, you either pay off that debt, and if you don't have the extra money to do it, you need to earn as much money as possible to pay off that debt. And that's why her timing with Monat was easier for me to get bought in, because we needed to find extra sources of income as soon as humanly possible. So I did put a lot of pressure on her to understand the compensation. Like, hey, how fast are you going to make this money? Like, we need money yesterday. So, you know, a lot of that helped me transition, and I kept learning. And as I talked about my own path, understanding, you know, the different thought processes out there, and learning a lot about Monat, learning about the compensation plan, knowing how realistic it is. But I had to do that research on my own. I got her login information, and I went through the back office myself, because I started to hear other people talk about multi-level marketing. And I started to understand that, hey, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's got a bad rap from 10 years ago. But the one thing that big investors always say, and if anybody has ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you've heard it before from Robert Kiyosaki, that if you're going to join, he thinks that everybody should start with the MLM because it builds your confidence, it takes you out of your comfort zone, and you learn to sell. And everything that you do in life, you're selling something. You're selling yourself, you're selling a product, you're selling anything. But the biggest caveat to all of that was, if you're going to join an MLM, you better do your research and only go to the MLMs that prioritize training and personal development. And when I read that, it all clicked for me, because I've seen nothing but personal growth and development in Kim. And you know, this is if you ever see her on Instagram, when she first started Monat, she said, you know what, I'm going to do it, but I'm never going to get on Instagram and sell. If I got to do it social selling, I'm not doing it. I was like, okay, well, I don't care. Like, make the money. I don't care how you do it. But now look, you know, now she's doing live, she's doing posts, she's doing reels. You know, I think as we get into like how husbands can support, here's a really quick story. We had a friend, really close friend of ours, that lived here in Gilbert with us. He would come over our house, him and his family would come over our house every day. His dad has a long history of choosing the wrong multi-level marketing companies to join. And he spent a lot of money buying inventory, and it hurt his family. And he's got, he grew up like that, he's got this huge negative connotation. He would give her crap every single time he came to our house. He would read her Instagram messages. He would critique it. He would, you know, I mean, even the nitpicky stuff, spell check it and all that stuff. So look, in this industry, you're going to get that every single time. And if you go on Instagram and you know, listen to anybody with Monat, they're talking about that. But this person was in our house. And so, you know, at first I thought it was a joke, but as the husband that's trying to support their wife, what it led to was a curbside conversation. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that we can do as husbands is just build them up, because we know that this isn't easy. This is hard. And if this guy's going to be my friend, he needs to understand that it's important to Kim, it's important to me, and he needs to knock it off when he comes to the house. And if he needs to kind of build her up because it's a big deal. And so, that's just how, it's kind of been for us, because as you really get into it and you put yourself out there, you start talking to people, your family's going to think you're an idiot. Your friends are going to think you're, just doing all these different things and nothing's ever going to stick and you're not going to follow through. So you've got to really show them through consistency. But, if I were to join in with my buddy and say, yeah, I don't know, I think Kim's lost her mind, like, there's no way this is going to be successful, then that would have hurt her in a huge way. And then, so it's just all about building each other up. And that's just kind of how this whole thing has kind of gone for us over the last 2 years. I will say that it hasn't been like, I haven't just hopped along. I have been pulled along. I have not just said, oh, I can't wait to go to Monations. I actually had zero intention of ever being to one Monation, and now I've been to 2.
I just bought him a ticket and said, you're coming. I have a babysitter lined up. I have all the time. I mean, it's really hard for us to get away. We never get to go on vacations together because we have so many kids and they're little. And so to try to find, and twins, like y'all taking care of twins is hard. And we don't have a ton of family support. So I had to line up like multiple different people for multiple different days to get this to happen. I mean, I chose this over a family, over a trip, like a romantic trip. Like this was the trip. Like if we could only have one, I know that this is like a non-negotiable. I know it's going to help my business. I know this is going to help us. And ultimately we came back more connected. We're able to talk to each other about the business, and he's able to like help me support it. And like, he actually knows what I'm saying. Like when we go on dates, like I can say, oh my gosh, I just signed up, blah, blah, blah. Or this person just ranked up, whatever. And he understands that. And to have that connection is so amazing and so fun. And he supports me. And then the kids. So the kids too are starting, they're little, and some of my older ones, they're starting to come along as we celebrate too. So that's a big deal. We don't just celebrate alone. We celebrate with the family. This is a family business. And I actually just had a sit down with my older son, and he's like, I don't really understand what you do. Like, he just thinks I play on my phone. And so I'm like, because he's a teenager, and he's like, Mom, you're on your phone too much. And I'm like, okay, let me break this down for you. So just to have those, conversations as a family too is really important. So.
Yeah, I think looking on this conference call, and I said it on another conference call, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of women on this call. And, early on in Kim's journey with the company, I would hear some of the conference calls, but I never really paid attention. But then I started kind of paying attention to what was being said. And that's what inspired me for her, because the level of discussion and the accountability for goals and the accountability for personal development, that's what caught my ear, because I'm in the corporate world, and we talk about self-growth and all those things. And we talk about it a lot, but to hear it in this industry is something that was new to me. And it was really good for her, because it's not, even if she was a small business owner for a long time, but she got zero personal development. You learn through trial and error. Nobody's going to give you feedback. You're the boss. Unless you seek out a mentor, you're not going to think that you're not going to know what you're doing wrong. But now she has a group of mentors that you just don't get anywhere else. You don't have access to that. And that's what, I kind of took a step back and said, hey, this is going to be really good for Kim, even if it doesn't net $1 for us. And the amount of, just the amount of growth she showed, and then going to Monations and actually spending time with the women that are on this call, getting to know all of you. I got a chance to meet Amy's husband. I see him in the background. Shout out. Keep your eyes on me, not on the phone. Just kidding. But getting a chance to meet everybody. And in that weekend, man, there were so many good conversations. We sat around a dinner table at 11 o'clock at night, talking about the whys, talking about what you want out of this business, talking about what the barriers are. What were your takeaways from this morning? Like, I've been on a lot of corporate retreats, and at 11 o'clock at night, we're not talking a single thing about business. And nobody wants to even be involved in that conversation. these are active participants that are looking to get something out of this conversation at midnight. And that is just something that you don't get anywhere. The level of training and the access to training out of Monations just blew my mind. You know, it was better than the first one coming out of this Monations, and the access to Todd Duncan, Tony Robbins. I don't even need to tell you about that. But it's just, that stuff is what really got it for me. It made, part of Tony Robbins made me uncomfortable. And I, you know, you can apply it to so many different levels of your life, your own business. If you're not in Monat, but you do something else, like you can, there's so much that you can get out as a husband that your wife is also getting out. That is just, it blows my mind how the access to the developments. And at the end of the day, like I got the pleasure of sitting around that dinner table, and I'm thinking, why would, I think other husbands would probably want to know this. Like if you see Monat for what it is, you're like, you don't see the true depth of the company, and to be involved. And then at the end of it, they asked me what my opinion was. Fortunately, I kind of saw that coming, so I wasn't caught off guard. But like I was included in that conversation. Like they're not excluding me, and they want to know my opinion. They want to know my perspective. And I really valued that. And I thought that was awesome. And there wasn't a single dinner, and Jacqueline, I said it before, there wasn't a single dinner that we went to where Jacqueline didn't have a question about Monat. But that's the culture, and we want to make everybody better, and we want to have some accountability. So that's kind of just the path of all this, and how we got through Monations and what it's done for me. I came out of Monations, and the next Monday I wanted to do an Instagram Live. I sat on a conference call 2 weeks ago, and I told the team there that I know 2 people right now that work for me. One person had their rent increased by $400 a month. The other person has to get a second job. She's working full time for me, and she's working at Jack in the Box in the middle of the night. That sucks. They both need to know about this opportunity. It's very delicate for me. I prayed about it. I slept on it. I talked to Kim about it. But I did tell that group, I said, look, if I don't talk to one of them, somebody else is going to talk to them about some other opportunity. And I need to share what Monat can do for their lives. And that's way out of my comfort zone.
Yep.
But I did it. I did it a week after it's been 2 years, but I recruited my first person, and I just recruited her to Kim. She hasn't signed up yet, but she's going through all the things. But that's what Monations does. Even if you're not an active market partner, you are understanding the value and how this stuff changes people's life. Again, even if it doesn't net them a single dollar, it's going to make them better people, and better, whether they want to start their own business or they're an employee somewhere else. There's a ton of development that's coming out of this. So even if it's not monetary, they're going to be a different person for having spent time within this group.
RJ, I took myself off mute real quick just because you were kind of going right towards this. And one thing that I loved that you and Kim talked about, that you talked about on your call with Kim on the Instagram Live, was that the support, like, why wouldn't you want to support your wife? And if you could just like touch in on that, I just thought that was so beautiful. And really the women that have support from their husbands, it makes such a huge difference. Some people don't have that. So I would just love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what came, as I'm sitting in an Airbnb in a random part of the country that I never thought I'd ever go to. I'm sitting there thinking, why wouldn't other husbands want to see this? This is true passion right here. Like I said, it's almost midnight and we're sitting around the table talking about this. Why would you, and I don't mean it condescendingly, I just, why wouldn't you want to know why your wife is so passionate about something? Why wouldn't you want to take the 5 minutes to sit on a conference call or, hear a little bit about it? If you have an event in your house or you have an event in your town, why wouldn't you want to meet the people that your wife is spending so much time with? She's doing it for a reason. She's not giving you her time, so she's giving her time to something else. And in a lot of those situations, especially our situation, when she's up here on a conference call, I'm downstairs at dinner time with 3 kids screaming their head off. Like, I should want to know what Kim's doing that has me downstairs at the worst time of the day dealing with kids by myself. Like, what is so important that it's got her, so committed to doing this? And that's where I'm like, well, I need to get involved a little bit. I need to understand. And that's when I would come up with the kids and they're taking a bath and I'm overhearing, Amy on the call, in just kind of understanding, like, what are they talking about and why is this, what is going on? Like, why is this such a big deal for Kim? And like I said, it's hearing the motivation and hearing the inspiration coming from the group of women that Kim's talking to every day. And that's where my mindset went from, early on, it was like, how much money are you going to bring into this household? Because we need it. That's what I need to know. I just need to know the return on investment. That's it. Well, now it's not that. I mean, if she makes money, that's nice, but the growth and development is something that's going to make her a better mom, a better wife, a better business partner in the future. It's going to have so many different impacts. So the question is, why wouldn't you want to know? And I can't answer that for everybody, but for me, it was pretty easy that I just wanted to see what was taking so much time. And it's not always easy. I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I'm downstairs, like, I'm so lucky to have my wife upstairs working. Like I have cursed Monet sometimes because we're on the West Coast. And so our conference calls are at dinner time. And that takes some support. It's not easy for me to come home at, Mondays are a tough day for me. It's my longest day of the week. And then I come home and Kim has to go straight to a conference call at 5:30 at night. And I'm like, man, this better be worth it. But I needed to figure out what it was. I needed to understand her why and why is this so important. And like I said it before, but Monet is a personal development company with commission. And I think that still rings true. And that's kind of the why I ask everybody out there that's, has a spouse that is doing this business and they just don't really know what they're doing, is why wouldn't you want to know?
So, yeah. And I will tell you, from him starting to support me more has got me more on fire. So him and I are very close. He's my best friend. And so when he is driving me too, he pushes me. I love it. Like, I sometimes need that little kick in the butt, right? He's like, he won't buy me another car because he says I'm getting my Caddy in December. So y'all, like, he pushes me. I love it. We support each other on all different levels. And he has lots of different businesses. And so, we just started a vending machine. I went with him on a route. Like, it's support on both sides. So it's not just one-sided ever. And it brings you closer, literally brings you closer. And we thank God every day for the opportunities that he's giving us. And so thank you for having us. And we're going to open it up. I know we've gone over, I think.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions for us, so let us know.
Well, while we're waiting for any questions, I just want to say thank you so much. That was just so great. I always love hearing a man's perspective every single time. I can tell you truly, just like I started out, if I wouldn't have had Craig in my corner, it would have been much harder. I did a direct sales business before Monet. And so, and I quit doing it because I wanted to homeschool my son, and he was supportive of that, even though I was, doing okay in that direct sales business. And so when I joined Monet, I had no aspirations. Like I didn't know how much I wanted to make. I just was doing this because it felt right, but he was so supportive of me the whole time. And so RJ, for you to really dive in and to learn the comp plan. I mean, Craig would ask me, how many MMMs do you need? How many, he would do how many do we need? Right. Like, so, but he like really has always like, well, not always, but once he started seeing my excitement, my passion, it kind of was the same thing as you. Like, he really got into it and really started understanding the comp plan. And so having that, I just want to thank you as a husband for doing that for your wife, being that partner for her, because you guys, I can already tell, like I could tell on that IG, I can see you guys on a stage. I really can. I can see you both there together, just telling everyone how it is and sharing your love that you have. And so let's open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for RJ and Kim? And I love seeing the husbands on here. It's the best.
I have a question, RJ. And Derek Roth kind of talked about this at My Nations a little bit, but I would love you to share your words of wisdom or advice for those out there that don't have their husbands on board and supporting them.
Well, I mean, I think I alluded to it a little bit. I had zero plans of ever going to Mo Nations. I had to be dragged. So persistency is something that will always overcome. They'll come around at some point. But you have to be persistent. You have to share the wins with that person. And you have to, with Kim, and she had to schedule it. She had to be a better scheduler. She had to kind of let me know, because at first I was finding it to be an inconvenience. This is inconvenient to me. I wasn't viewing it as a job. I wasn't viewing it as a business. I was looking at it as just something that's being inconvenient to me. But the more I saw that Kim was treating it like a job, and that we were talking about it, because it seemed like early on, she didn't really have a grasp of, how much time she needed, when the conference calls were. So I'd come home and she's like, oh, I got to call in like 5 minutes. I'm like, well, I mean, that's inconvenient for me, but that's selfish. And so it's just the persistency of it all, I think, will just show that, that is something that's not going to go away. And I think that's a lot of times when it comes to direct sales, it's always something that the other person and everybody watching is just waiting for it to kind of fizzle. But it's the commitment that you're going to show, that you already show, will continue to, just broadcast to the person, to any spouse. But you're going to have to pull. At least that's what worked for me.
I love the inclusivity response you gave me. You guys are truly a team in all aspects of life, and it just shows right there. So great answer. Thank you. I would have just drawn a circle around myself and be like, see ya, I'm on my own. Thank you, guys.
That's a good quote that you were going to share too.
Oh yeah, I was going to end with a really inspirational quote. I didn't really have time to come up with a really inspirational quote, but on the fly, I figured it was only best to say that if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, you got to go together. That's the only way it's going to work. At least, again, I'm not going to say the only way, because there's a lot of successful people out there that are doing it on their own. But for us to go far with our current dynamic, we've got to do it together, or else we're not going to do it.
I love that, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that I really threw it on you. Like as soon as I saw the video, I was like, they gotta come on. But it was so helpful, and we appreciate it so much. And come back on the calls again, because we truly love hearing a man's perspective. It's always fun. So thank you. And it was great seeing everyone. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you all for giving us the time.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.